Hi everyone, welcome to episode 32 of Morgan Reach TV, which is aired on YouTube and all our social media channels. Today we are very honoured to have a truly inspiring leader join us for our podcast, Dr. Rifat Rashid. She is the esteemed Hospital Executive Director for Heartlands Hospital, part of the University Hospitals Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust. Dr. Rashid is not only a leading respiratory consultant, but a force for change in the NHS. From her beginnings in medical training, firstly at St Andrews in Scotland, followed by her full medical degree at Manchester University, and then all of her professional training throughout the West Midlands. She has risen through the ranks, taking on challenging roles throughout. She was the Site Responsible Clinician during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, serving on the very front line. Her journey is a testament to resilience, leadership, and a deep-seated passion, serving the diverse community of Birmingham throughout. In this episode, we're going to look at how Dr. Rashid has embarked on this remarkable career path, the pivotal moments that shaped her rise to a top executive position, and a vision for the future of healthcare at Heartlands Hospital and the NHS. This is one podcast we've been very much looking forward to, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get Dr. Rifat Rashid into the hot seat and let's get started. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
I know how busy you are. I know how busy your role is. So I know that we've been trying to coordinate diaries for quite some time. So I really appreciate you making the effort and your team and everyone getting coordinated. Obviously, it's quite difficult to get a slot of time with yourself.
It's my pleasure,
No, I appreciate it. So how did you start all this? How did it all kind of come to where you are today? So because obviously we've known each other a long time. The audience don't know this yet, but my sister went to Manchester University, wasn't it? The first
That's
uni.
right.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
and that was your undergrad
It was.
medical.
It
Yeah,
was.
medical degree.
Yes.
So what year was that? That was like quite a while ago. It was the 90s, wasn't it? Late 90s.
1997.
Yeah. So I was.
We're giving away my age now.
I'm giving away my own age as well. So so I was about 15, 16 then, I think. I was 16, 17. So I used to come and visit
That's right.
Manchester. So that's where I first met the medics, the whole rabble. And I used to think it was really fun at university because it was like, oh wow, they do this and that. They got a big social life. So I met you then. So obviously you've been in medical school, everything from my sister, and then what did you do after university then? Did you do a second degree or did you go straight into work?
No, so I actually came down. I started medical school in St Andrews, and we did our pre-clinical in St Andrews, and then joined Manchester Uni in the third year, which is when I met Simon.
Yeah.
So we then graduated after having a interesting elective, if you might remember.
Yeah, of course. So you went to, was it just Australia or was it other countries on the way?
No, we went to quite a few countries on the way, all kind of done by shoestring. So we went to Malaysia, then we went to Singapore, Australia, America, and then back.
America as well?
10 days before our finals.
Wow.
Yeah. But Simon obviously was like, didn't need to revise, whereas I wasn't quite as studious as Simon.
She's just, what was it, photographic memory.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
She had a fantastic, and a real, like, bookworm as well.
Yeah. I remember, because as a kid we weren't allowed to make any noise because my old big sister was studying. And, it only mattered about which was obviously fantastic because it's doctor and stuff, and so they obviously worked out. So you went to because I remember that now because I remember you went to Australia because obviously you went to visit my
that's right
my auntie and my cousins and stuff in Australia. So I remember that. I didn't remember that you went all the other countries.
Yeah, because then we went to visit my aunt in America, in Florida.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you went to Florida too, yeah.
And we thought we'd go around that way.
Yeah.
So that's my claim to being going around the world.
Yeah, awesome.
One and only time.
Yeah. Well, at least you did it then. At least it was a good opportunity.
It was indeed.
Yeah, because we've been to Malaysia, but I haven't been further afield than that at this stage. So no, you got it out of the way.
I did.
So after university, so you did St Andrews, then Manchester Uni.
Manchester Uni, and then did my house jobs in Manchester, and then SHO training in Manchester, and then eventually ended up in Birmingham for my registrar years.
Oh, okay.
So I've been in Birmingham
Yeah.
since my doing my registrar training.
Yeah. So it's been quite a while now. So are
It's been a
you
long time now.
more of a Brummie now then?
No,
No,
no.
not at all.
Once a Scot, always a Scot.
So the heritage remains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Always
Brilliant.
loyal to
So
where
you
you were
haven't got
born.
any like Birmingham accent or anything yet either?
No, absolutely.
No. So
Well,
everyone has.
I go home, family's
Yeah.
still back in Glasgow, so we meet up and they come down quite a lot. So,
You
yeah,
keep in with the
I'm
lingo.
very,
Yeah.
very loyal to my country.
Rightly so. Excellent. Okay. So you're down in Birmingham at this point. So
Yeah.
which hospitals have you got? Was it always been Heartlands or
No, so when started off the registrar training, the first hospital I went to was Warwick Hospital.
Warwick?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was in the first year of training, and then Selly Oak, and then after that, more or less, I've been in Heartlands ever since.
Yeah. And what roles are we? So at Celio, what role
So
was
they were
that?
all registrar. So this
Oh,
is
so
all
you're
the
moving around,
the
yeah.
5 years of registrar training. So
Yeah.
I finished my registrar training and decided I wanted to do respiratory medicine. And then with it, well, the training was in respiratory medicine anyway. It was a
Yeah.
respiratory medicine training posts, but then decided I wanted to do cystic fibrosis. So cystic fibrosis regional centre is Heartlands.
Hmm.
So that's why I ended up applying for a job at Heartlands as a CF and respiratory consultant, and that's where it all kind of started.
And that's where so that was your consultant role, so that was a
Yeah,
big role.
yeah,
So you came into Heartlands for that.
yeah,
And then how did it kind of, because obviously you've been working as a doctor now and consultant and
yeah.
worked your way through. So this management position,
Yes.
because you didn't obviously start with this role, did you start with a more junior role first?
Yeah, so in my consultant job, and I think I was about 2.5 years in
Hmm.
when I took on the CSL job. So it's the clinical service lead for respiratory medicine. Um, so it's basically managing the respiratory team and all of the services within respiratory,
Yeah.
which at that point we also included Solihull and Good Hope as well.
Oh, wow. So you had to cover those hospitals as
Because
well.
we were all one trust, we were HEFT at that point,
Yeah.
Heart of England Foundation Trust at that point. So,
Mm.
and then I kind of just nothing was ever planned. And if you'd asked me, 20 years ago, do I think I would be sitting in a leadership or management position? I would have said no way.
Yeah.
There was never something that I'd ever planned or thought of doing.
Yeah.
So from that initial job, I kind of just took whichever opportunities came my way, and it was almost, it was whatever opportunities arose at the time that I thought I could do a good job in,
Mm.
um, and that's how I ended up there.
Awesome. So so that first breakout, like from being a consultant, obviously working on just the medicine side of things,
Yes,
and just obviously that's a big enough role as it is,
yeah.
but covering off obviously normal duties. What was the first role as management then? So it
So the
was,
very first role, even before I took the CSL job,
yeah,
was someone asked me whether I would lead on 7-day services
okay,
in the hospital to see, to kind of find out what that would look like and how Heartlands would become a 7-day service hospital. So that was quite interesting. Um, and I thought, well, I'll give that a shot. So it wasn't a formal role, but it was my first step, I think, in leadership is to actually what else can we do other than what we normally do. And I think that's probably been a thread
mm,
throughout my career is actually, whichever opportunity comes about where you can do something on a bigger scale,
mm,
that involves a lot of different factors, a lot of different people, a lot of different teams, and how to bring them together. And I quite enjoyed that. I quite like putting pieces of that jigsaw together, but then actually getting out and doing some of it as well. So I did that initially, and then um, also in amongst all of that, set up, and this is right at the beginning of my consultant job, a
mm,
new consultant course, which was probably my very first like dipping my toe into doing something managerial,
excellent,
which was really exciting. Like it was really exciting because when you start as a consultant, you suddenly have got this huge weight of responsibility,
yeah,
and then suddenly you realize actually you haven't got a consultant that you can go and ask, and you're forming new relationships with your teams.
mm,
And to be perfectly honest, I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to navigate the rest of my career? I really need to form networks with people that I can trust and rely on, and we can share some experiences with. And what I recognized was that there were courses that you could go to that were mostly in London, but they didn't teach you stuff about your own hospital. So that's where the
Yeah.
premise started. So I thought, well, actually, why don't we get new consultants? I knew all my friends were also, taking on consultant jobs, and some of them, because we had a big trust in different sites, why don't we get together and put together, the skills and how to survive your first consultant job, how to navigate finance, how to what to do when you get in trouble, what do you do, and so those kind of things, practical things that help knit people together, but also give you the tools to embark on a lifelong career. But more importantly, is actually the phone a friend thing. If there's something that you're stuck with, and who you've got people that from different specialties, that if there's a presentation or a case that you're not sure of, or you come across a challenge that you're unfamiliar with, you've got a network of people.
That's invaluable, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
In any career, I'd say, but
Absolutely.
having, especially your jobs and
Yeah.
how important it all is, like, with patient care and things, that's really, really good. And that was something that you guys developed, like,
Yeah,
in
I mean,
between the different hospitals.
so yes, and to be fair, I mean, I think it's that thread, that kind of networking, getting to know people,
Yeah, as
collaborating.
well.
How
Yeah,
do you problem solve? How do you navigate all of the challenges? It's kind of been a common thread through every role that I've taken, really.
brilliant. And then that's kind of the framework of most
Yeah,
careers, most jobs. It's the network you got around you, isn't it? It's how successful you'll be because you've got to learn from others. Whereas,
absolutely.
do you find that, have you come across consultants that kind of work in silos and they kind of know it all, or if I don't know it, it's not worth knowing, kind of thing?
I think historically,
Mm.
medicine has always been pretty hierarchical.
Yeah,
And you become a consultant, and you've got a lot of theoretical knowledge, and as you gain experience and your career goes on, then you marry theoretical knowledge with practical experience as well. So you do become a font of knowledge, and I think historically that's kind of been that revered position of the consultant knows everything. In
yeah.
reality, you don't know everything at all. Well,
No one
I
ever does
certainly
that,
don't
do
know
they?
everything.
Yeah,
And it's. I think things are changing now. Information is much more readily available.
yeah,
And I always say, once you impart information or knowledge, the other person's got it. So there's no need for any arrogance in that. So if I know something and I tell you know it, and that's
yeah.
it. There is no
Simple as
need
that,
for
isn't
any,
it?
there's
Yeah,
no need for any hierarchical arrogance in any of that.
yeah,
So I think that the working field is definitely changing in terms of being the font of knowledge, because there's so many different ways of gaining knowledge now.
yeah.
And actually, the public and the way that they want their healthcare delivered
Mm.
is in a much more co-productive, collaborative way,
Yeah, more
and
dynamic, isn't
very
it?
much so. Patients are experts. In fact, the reason why I wanted to do cystic fibrosis actually
Mm.
was that it was the first specialty that I came across where the patients knew more than the doctors,
Really?
because they're experts and they've lived with this disease for many years.
Yeah, of course.
And it was the
Yeah.
very first time actually that, although it was really uncomfortable at first, you felt challenged in that role
Mm.
of, well, the doctor says do this, and actually the patient says, well, I know that that's not what I want to do. I'd prefer to do X, Y, and Z. So when the first time you encounter it, that feels a bit uncomfortable. But I realised that actually, if I was going to grow as a person and grow as a doctor and actually be a patient centered, which is what we all strive to
Yeah.
be, then I had to change that and work in an environment where I was taking it outside my comfort zone.
And taking that feedback
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
as learning experience, as
Yeah,
you say.
absolutely.
Because I know that we worked a number of years ago with Professor Anthony Barnett
Yeah,
and down at the MDU at Heartlands,
yeah,
and he once said a similar thing to me as well,
yeah,
saying that his studies were in the community.
yeah,
So he set up that unit. He got the funding for it because it was
yeah,
like, we need the data from the people.
yeah.
So we need the biggest kind of, obviously
Cool. Yeah,
diabetes is very prevalent in
absolutely.
South Indian, us lot, basically. So it's
Yeah.
obviously the big community in Birmingham was that location
Indeed.
there, so he
Yeah.
located himself there, and
Yeah.
you know, 87 books later, he's a leading, at the time he was
Yeah.
leading knowledge on that. And I remember he said that same thing to me,
Yeah.
that we've learned off the people, because the
Absolutely.
people are the,
Yeah.
as you said, they're the people living with it every day. So who
Indeed.
better?
Indeed.
Better than textbooks
Yeah. Indeed.
from historics. Because you think that, obviously illnesses and things, do you feel that they're changing over time as well?
So, I mean, I think people's lifestyles have changed, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So, we were just talking a few minutes ago
Mm.
that the trend of eating out is far
Yeah.
more prevalent now than it ever was before, and the meat and two veg is a thing of the past.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all of those factors. The way we work harder, we
Yeah,
party harder, we
yeah,
eat different foods, etc., etc. So there's an evolving healthcare needs, and this is no like surprise. It's through the ages, obviously, healthcare and our knowledge about diseases change as well.
mm,
So therefore, the treatments that we're able to offer. So it's all progressive. Um, However, there will, with every age, there will be different challenges.
of course. But when you because I read on one of your, no, sorry, I think I heard it on one of the LinkedIn videos that you did, or one of the things you wrote. But when you was at a college,
School.
school was it? So when you had your careers advisor day, because did you know back then that you wanted to be a doctor? Was that
I wanted
always
to be a
your
doctor since I was about 2 years old, I think.
really?
Just a thing I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
well, no, hold on, I'm going to correct that now. So I
Yeah.
did have some various very high flung aspirations before that when I was a very young.
Yeah.
Um, I think, at one point I decided I wanted to be the president of the United States of America when I was about 4 years old. And then somebody pointed out that you had to be born in America. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, forget that. And then I wanted to be the first female astronaut.
Yeah.
And then I thought, no, I don't think I'm suited to that. But
Okay.
then after
Well.
that, it was always going to be medicine.
Mm,
From like late school and into high school, it was always going to be medicine that I wanted to do,
yeah.
but didn't necessarily mean that everybody else thought I would be able to do. And I remember going to see my careers teacher, I remember her name now, and said, she said, well, what would you like to do? And I said, oh, I want to do medicine. And she literally fell off her chair. I said, but
Really?
I think really you should have some more realistic expectations of your ability. And I thought, wow, that's it now. I'm going to have to prove you wrong. And so, no, I think the lesson here is that follow your dreams.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing, I would caveat that with follow your dreams, but never be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Because I think there is an awful lot of pressure that people put on young children at the moment and school
Mm,
children about attaining, X, Y, and Z grades and following A, B, and C careers. In reality, your destiny will take you to where you're going to be. And
yeah.
it's as long as you keep using every opportunity that comes your way and always just try to be the best that you can be, because that's only ever anybody can ever ask of you, is to do the best that you can do. And if you're assured that you have done the best that you can do, then there's never any regrets.
Do you think that careers teacher drove you on further? Like you said, you had to prove her wrong.
Well, there is a theme of that as well that goes on
Yeah.
through life, is that when somebody says you can't do something and then you think that you can, then you're going to have to prove that you
Work
can.
harder. You can.
Work
Yeah.
harder to do
Do you
it. So
think
she
there was?
certainly
Yeah.
inspired me to do
Geez, you are.
better in my
Yeah.
exams.
Do you think it was more of a reverse psychology thing, or do you
No,
really think
I
she was horrible?
genuinely think that she
Yeah.
probably did think. She did offer me some other career options at that
Oh,
point.
okay.
Yeah,
So it wasn't the
I
kind
was
of
thinking,
no, you can't, just to like, and
yeah,
be proud of you in the
yeah,
background. It
no,
wasn't that.
no, I don't
No.
think so. And to be fair, I think she was probably right at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it? What made her say that? Do you think was it?
I mean, careers teacher know what your track records are, don't they?
Yeah.
So I mean, they don't just decide one day.
Yeah. Just like
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, but then obviously that it did drive you on, and obviously the rest is history. Being a lady, being Muslim as well, moving from quite far from home, having a different accent, has it been difficult for you through your career? Would you say?
Well,
Has it hindered you?
well, this all of these factors are similar to what other people face as well. There's
of
nothing
course.
unique about me having faced them. And the reality, of course, is that, you will come across challenges. And certainly when we trained, training as a female in medicine, brought its challenges, definitely did. There's examples throughout different parts of your journey that you can remember and recall. And at one point, once I was in medicine, I did want to do surgery.
Yeah.
I just liked it. I thought it was really glamorous. I thought, I
Yeah.
can be a surgeon. And then I realized actually probably I don't have enough precision to do that. But I remember in one ward round in Manchester Royal, actually it was, where I was the consultant that I was whose team I was on. It was a surgeon, and I said, "Oh, I quite fancy applying for such and such a job." And his response still sticks in my mind, and he said, "Oh, I won't bother." It's like, why?
Nice.
I said, "Well, they'll just take one look at your name on the application, and that'll be it." So, what do you mean? I said, "Well, this surgery is for men." And I went, "Okay." And I at least had enough insight to know not to pursue something that actually I don't think I was going to be very good at. So I have learned from that, do something just to prove somebody wrong. But that was a reality, and you go through various other examples of training or going for jobs, etc., etc. And medicine in those days was hard for somebody from an ethnic minority background, and definitely somebody who's wears a hijab, and then working in a place that's unfamiliar from where your surroundings. They bring its challenges, but I guess that makes you stronger.
You're the living proof because you broke through it all. So you didn't do surgery.
No.
Obviously, you went into respiratory care.
Yeah.
Were there any challenges after that point that you can remember where you did just think, no, actually, I can do this. I'm going to do it anyway?
I mean, medicine training as a whole is as you know from family, is grueling in terms of how many times you have to uplift and uproot and change, cities, change hospitals, recreate networks. So that in itself is pretty hard work for anyone, whether you're female or male. It is a test. There's lots of examples, but I don't think they're particularly unique to me. I think everybody's got their own challenges. I don't think there's anything particularly special about the ones that I've faced, but they do highlight actually that thankfully the world is now changing. That medicine now, that is, the trainees have much more equal opportunities. The way that we recruit, the way that we train is very much focused on making sure that each trainee gets what they require. Whereas I think back then it was you had to create your own opportunities, and it's a universal truth with the protected characteristics. You have to outshine, and it was always the case. You had to outshine your counterparts to be seen or to be heard. And I was always very conscious of that. So you either had to be the best grades, or be the best hands-on person, be the best person that communicated. You have to do something that outshone the rest, or work over and above or harder than your counterparts to get to the same place.
It's really tough. And you're right. Obviously, it's almost history. I've seen other family members go through it, and it's it's a tough profession.
Particularly in interview settings and when you're applying for jobs, where you're facing a panel that doesn't know you, so you have to perform at a level that is outstanding. Good enough wouldn't cut the mustard, so to speak.
What would your advice be? Say you mentioned that nowadays it's a lot more equal. Would you say, like, with young ladies want to go into the career? What would you say to them, or what would be kind of any advice as such that kind of comes to mind?
So I think it's going with your eyes open. It is a fantastic career, and where you start isn't where you're going to end up. So, like I said, I would never have imagined in my wildest dreams that I would be doing anything related to any kind of leadership or management position, because I guess at that point I never thought that that would be possible. And so don't limit your options. You know, it is still to some extent a lifestyle choice because of the amount of commitment. And for me, it has always been a vocation. And when it's something is you feel something so passionately about something, or you're so committed to something, there are inevitably some trade-offs for that you have to make along the way. But that is not to deter anyone. It is, definitely, if you, it goes back to the same thing, give it your best shot, and the rest will kind of work itself out. As long as you avail yourself to any opportunity that come, and don't limit yourself in terms of what you think you can do, and definitely don't be limited by what other people think you can or cannot achieve.
Yeah, definitely. Look at my sister. She
Absolutely.
was she went from medicine to being a GP,
Yeah, absolutely.
which would normally be seen as a bit of a boring route. And now she's in Canada.
I know, amazing.
And so they moved over to Canada, and they've got a completely different lifestyle
amazing,
now. So,
yeah.
but it's very transferable, isn't it? The
Absolutely,
skills
and
that you get.
teaches you obviously how to look after patients, but it teaches you really core people skills.
Yeah.
And because we are in the business of people, that's our business. We look after people, we treat people. We're in the business of people, and the business is done by people as well. So you're surrounded by people. So it teaches you a huge amount of actually personal interaction, communication, and just understanding the richness of life. And that is fundamentally what keeps me in this job. Really, is that it's an absolute privilege to meet people from every walk of life, and to get a small snapshot into their life. Because for me that's really fascinating, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to be welcomed into people's life. And most often it's at times when they're most vulnerable, when they're in hospitals. Obviously they're not coming at their when their peak game is mostly when they're in need of some kind of help, or are vulnerable. And to be able to be trusted with your loved ones or with your own personal health is an absolute privilege. And I think, so I feel like I'm in a very privileged position, and very grateful for the opportunities that life and has afforded me to be able to do that, rather than anything that I have done to kind of achieve that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's very deep. It's really good. But now that you're at the management level, how's that transition for you from being a doctor, like on the ground, so to speak, to that, like with your colleagues and with other people, with any kind of friction points? Or
yeah, I mean, it's always, life is a litany of challenges, isn't it? So I still do some clinical work. So I still do my CF clinics, which is really important to me, because that's that's the reason why I came into doing medicine. And in fact, I just come from doing clinic this morning.
Really?
And I often say that they're my sanity sessions. So that's where I get to hang out with my crew from 20 odd years that we've known each other. Wow. And the patients obviously are patients that I've known for many years as well. So those are my sanity sessions. And again, I think, if the question is, did you face any friction when I applied for these jobs? And yes, definitely. And it's really interesting to reflect back on why people find it difficult when you put yourself forward for these roles. And the reality is that society is reflected in all kinds of people. So the fact that you're from whichever ethnic background, that you're female, all of those all of those racial, misogynistic, all of those things that happen in real life society play out in reality. That happens. But again, it's about believing in what you can do and doing your best, and then leave the rest to fate.
Yeah, definitely. Wise words. Because a lot of people get caught up with this negativity, don't they? And can really let it affect them. So it's good to break through. Just keep on going. reach the top of your ability. But with the like the hospital itself, you mentioned that you've just come from clinic this morning. So like on a weekly basis, like what does a typical day or a typical week kind of flow look like? Is it?
So there is no such thing as a typical
I was
day or
about
a
to say,
typical
is it
week.
very
Which
samey or is it
no, there's
no?
nothing. No
Really,
2 days in the last however many years have ever been the same.
really?
Which is actually what I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
about
I was
it.
going to
I
say is
like
that,
the
that
variation
yeah,
and I like the constant.
it's
Some people would,
exciting.
I would call it excitement. Other
Yeah,
people might call it chaos, but
anxiety.
so I like that problem solving idea. So it's the core business of the hospital is obviously maintaining its function, providing the best care. So currently, as you will all have seen and read the news, it's about urgent emergency care, the pressures on our
Mm,
front doors, providing the specialist services, providing good quality, safe care, but doing all of that within a very tight financial envelope.
yeah,
So this is the reality of healthcare at the moment, which
mm,
is obviously played out in public. So I guess for for leaders in the NHS is actually how do you triangulate all of those different performance, finance, quality and
yeah,
safety, patient experience, whilst continually improving. And those are the challenges that we have to juggle day to day.
yeah. That was one of the questions on my mind, basically, because working through, because I think you answered it before, because even though you're management level, uh, by having your sanity sessions, as you know, your
Uh,
quote, is, do you think that's a bit like being back on the kind of
yeah.
work floor, so to
So
speak?
I try every week, at least as many times I possibly can,
Mm,
is to walk the patch, as I call it.
yeah,
So that is about going back to the ward, speaking to as many different healthcare workers, whether it's the resident doctors, nurses, ward managers, floor coordinators, site teams. I'm in and out of the bed meetings almost every day to
wow,
actually understand what it feels like to be on the shop floor. And I think that's so important. This is not a job that you can do from an office
yeah, of course,
because part of my job is to make sure that I've got the right assurance from all of the teams, and I need to triangulate what I'm told to what I actually hear from the shop floor.
yeah,
So, and I often say I do my best business in the corridors. So
yeah, that's brilliant.
it is the best business that I do is when I'm walking the corridors and somebody says, "Oh, by the way, can I just tell you this?" Or "I'm worried about this," or "Did you know this was happening?" Or "Can you come and help me with this?" Or
Oh my God,
etc. etc.
yeah,
So those are like those clinical are the sanity sessions, but those walking the corridors are by far the most productive time that I spend.
wow. Is that, would you say that's typical of someone in your role, or is that something that you like to do? Is that
Um,
your management style?
I guess it's certainly it's my management style. I mean, it does help that I've been in Heartlands for such a long time and I practically know quite a lot of people.
Yeah,
And it's actually really fun because I feel like I'm just going to talk to my friends walking
yeah,
down the
yeah, just
corridor,
your old colleagues and stuff. Yeah,
colleagues and friends.
yeah,
And so for me, it's really important because again, it goes back to that. How do those networks? How do where are the networks? Where are you getting the information from?
yeah,
Um, and is it actually real? So what you're being told or what the figures are telling you? What's the story behind it? What's the actual
mm,
patient story behind it? What are the staff experiences behind it? And I don't, you don't have the answers there and then,
mm,
but you can't fix something unless you know about it.
yeah.
And the
And if you
best way
hear it
to
from
know
the
about
horse's
it is
mouth,
to hear it from the
yeah,
horse's mouth.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Do you find that there is a lot of, or sometimes there's differences in strategic kind of direction versus what you hear on the shop floor?
So I think there's so I, as an executive director for Heartlands, I also sit on the group executive board
Yeah,
as well. So we're, as the exec board, we are responsible for setting the strategic direction.
yeah, okay,
But what I think is apparent is that there is often a communication gap
yeah,
in terms of what we are setting and what we would like for the organisation to happen to what's actually understood and heard from the shop floor.
mm,
So it's not necessarily that there's a different pool. It's just that actually, and this is one of the biggest challenges I think of anybody
yeah, in a management
in a
position,
management
yeah,
position is how do you communicate effectively with such a diverse staff group
Mm.
in a way that they want to receive that information, and they also understand it and feel part of it. I think that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And it was actually one of my questions, but which I think again we've answered. But so do you feel that? Because I was going to ask you how do you join the dots, but I think we've just been through that. Because it's you kind of you get a lot of information off the shop floor. And again, just to reiterate, do you think that's from the other department heads and the other people that you know? Is that a common thing, or is that very much your management style? And do you think that's very beneficial?
Can't really talk about other people's management styles.
Or that you know of, hypothetically.
Different people receive information in different ways.
Yeah.
So other than walking the shop floor, I also know if I've got a theory that I want to test, that I would go to some trusted colleagues in various different
Whatever department.
positions to test out a theory before. And I know that those people will give me honest feedback. So I do not want to be surrounded by people that are only going to tell me
Yes, ma'am.
yes. And I think that's the most dangerous situation that you could find yourself in.
In any organisation.
In any organisation, if you surround yourself by people that tell you what you want to hear, then you need to go and find some different people.
Yeah, because you'll have a very pleasant day.
Yeah,
but
you'll be very
problems
from
will
reality.
And what's growing, what's happening down in the hospital on the shop floor, so to speak, would be. I think that's obviously the same for any business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So or any organisation, you
Absolutely.
say, but no, that's brilliant. So, bit of a general question, really. What are your fears at the moment, or what can you see happening? What are the biggest threats? A bit of a strong word, but what are the biggest issues coming that you're kind of aware of that you're trying to address at the moment? Is there anything that you can share?
I mean, I think it probably goes back to what we said about how do you juggle all of those balls and maintain a good quality service for your patients. And obviously, I'm very passionate about Heartlands, and the community that we serve is amongst the most deprived in England. That brings with it all their socioeconomic factors, so health, education, all of those different life events that happen to people. So I'm really passionate. I often say that I can't do very much about some people's sources, economic situation or their housing or their schooling, but I can damn well do something about the healthcare that they receive. And I feel really strongly about that. So that really is probably at the heart of. You may have heard my slogan. It's putting the heart back into Heartlands, and Heartlands at the heart of the community. So that
That's very good.
Thank you. So essentially, putting the heart back into Heartlands is basically making it a place where the staff feel proud to work and they feel that they belong. And one of the things that we've been really focused on the last couple of years is really celebrating our diversity. So we've got up to 45% ethnic mix in just our staff group, which is fantastic because it reflects the local population. So so we have really tried really hard to try and celebrate all different ethnic backgrounds, all different faiths, all different lifestyles that people have. Because actually, when most people, when they say that they come to Heartlands, love Heartlands, it's a thing that it gets under your skin, it gets into your blood, and it is that absolute commitment of our teams to provide the very best for our population and our patients. And that I can say that with my hand on my heart that is absolutely true of all of our hospital services and all of our staff groups. Heartlands, because of the pressures that we've got in terms of front door pressures, etc. Nobody comes to Heartlands if they want an easy life. There are other places in the country that you want if you want a less pressure cushiony, but they do it day in day out, and they do it with dignity and grace, and they do it with humility, and they do it for the sake of the patients, and that's the heart of Heartlands. And in terms of putting the heart into the heart of the community, it is very much about actually serving the population. And so we are in a position that we are serving the population, not the population is coming to us for a service. And there's a very big difference in that attitude and that way of thinking. I'm also the SRO for the East locality, so that's a collaboration of working with primary care, secondary care providers, council, BCHC, and local voluntary sector as well, to looking at how do we provide the best care for the locality. So east locality, the east of Birmingham, which is where we set up some of the community services that you may have heard of.
Yeah, literally, my next question was going to be about the locality hub, so you fed into that very nicely. Oh, so that's really interesting. So, does that involve actual physical
Yeah.
outbound services? So,
So
vehicles and things going out, or
yeah. So I
yeah,
mean, Heartlands as a geographical site for
mm,
those that have visited it is completely landlocked. We're we've got housing on either side of us. It was
yeah,
originally built in open fields, but as time has gone on. In fact, we
really, wow,
celebrated our 130th this year.
yeah, yeah,
So we've been showcasing the history of Heartlands recently. So we are completely landlocked, and we are a hospital that is continuing to see increased pressure and demand,
mm,
and it fits with the population that we serve. So the local population in and around Heartlands has traditionally always been obviously poorer economic background,
mm,
but also a migrant population, and so all of those things kind of conspire towards a hospital whose the demand will continue to increase, um, when you have all of those socioeconomic factors. It continues to drive a demand.
yeah,
And recently, obviously, when we had Solihull Hospital, which has now become a really exciting cold elective hub, um, some of the services that were originally in Solihull moved over to Heartlands as well.
yeah,
So there's a huge amount of demand, and we are the busiest A&E certainly within our sister sites within the trust.
mm,
So all of that leaves you with how do you continue to provide services when there's
yeah,
actually no room for any physical growth,
yeah,
and obviously within the financial climate that we are, which kind of led me to, well, actually, what services can we move out of Heartland into the community?
mm,
And it just so happens that the 10-year plan that followed was along very similar lines. So, and we were showcased in the 10-year plan as a um, as a as a good kind of example of how to do some of that. So, 10-year plan very much focuses on left shift, so moving services from secondary care into primary care, and I'll come on to give you an example on that,
mm,
and moving from analog to digital, and also from treatment to prevention. So in a kind of it was almost ahead of the game in terms of our thinking.
mm,
So we set up just last winter, in fact January of this year, a respiratory aesthetics service. So it's a respiratory same day emergency care service in Washwood Heath, which is about a mile and a half from Heartlands,
yeah,
in a building that had previously already pre-existing and provided various services, but was very underutilized.
mm,
So this is a bespoke service where patients can access via referral from the GP in the first instance, um, respiratory consultants and respiratory team actually in the community. So bypassing ED, not having to sit in a queue waiting to be seen by an ED specialist, and then being seen forwarded
mm,
on to medicine, and then respiratory medicine is a normal pathway. It's actually a shortcut to getting everything done in the same place. And in Washwood Heath, we also have a CDC, which has got our own X-ray department, etc., etc. So it is really a one-stop shop, and that's a kind of, I think, the blueprint of actually how healthcare now needs to develop. It is providing care closer to the patients rather than focusing everything into secondary care, which is already bursting at its seams.
yeah, of course,
Is what else can you do? So, in addition to that, we're also going to follow suit. Well, we already started heart failure, so we're moving heart failure services into a different site in Hodge Hill, where patients who would ordinarily spend something like sometimes 5 days, sometimes 10, sometimes longer days in hospital having treatment for heart failure, which we are going to provide in the community. And that also allows our GP colleagues and community colleagues to feed into that pathway as well. So
mm,
all of this is bypassing ED, bypassing an already constrained system, which is at bursting point, and providing actually a much better service for patients closer to where they live,
yeah,
and actually means that they don't have to be stuck to a hospital bed for days on end. So
mm,
we've done those two, and then also setting up an infusion suite as well, again for patients that need antibiotics that need to be in hospital for 3 days, that are, are able to be discharged and have their antibiotics in the community, and then we will hopefully expand that to other types of infusions as well. So it's just to give you an example of actually we have to think really differently now as how we provide care. And I think the future is definitely around some of those initiatives I've explained, but also providing ambulatory care. So at the time that, so in a way that the patient needs. So this goes back to that we are serving a population. They're not coming to an establishment to be,
fixed.
Yeah, it is actually providing a service that fits modern life and needs. So, and don't get me wrong, all of those things take a lot of investment as well as effort. And the biggest challenge is actually making that cultural shift. So, we trainees, you've just spoken at length of how we've trained and training opportunities, but we don't necessarily haven't caught up with how we train people to think differently in this different way of providing care. And certainly some of our trainees now will benefit from some of the services that I've spoken to, so they can actually experience what it's like to work in those areas and actually hear from patients how that, so therefore changing the landscape of medicine.
Yeah, nice. Because I've seen some of the services that you mentioned, but you mentioned Solihull briefly. What's to be honest, I'm a little bit out of touch with what's happening in Solihull, but because they closed everything down, moved it all to Heartlands, and then now
So they
certain
provide all
facilities
their
are back.
cold. Well, so they've got some cold service, but mostly it's an electro hub. So state of the art new theatres providing to help us to get the backlog down for patients that are waiting for hospitals.
Yeah.
And often if you have surgery and medicine co-located, because medicine is always so busy, you end up with a compromise on surgery. So that's not to say that Heartlands doesn't have surgery. We've got our tertiary vascular services. We've got emergency surgery, and so we still have surgery, and we've got the Europe's biggest NOF pathway, so fracture neck of femur surgery happens at Heartlands as well.
Wow.
So again, going back to how do you continue to provide all of these services that our patients and our population need within the constraints of the current financial climate.
The current financial climate, I know we touched upon it a few times. Is that, I know it's not getting any better, but is it becoming more and more of an issue over time? Are you struggling with...
I mean, I think this is true of any trust in all of England, certainly, and we're looking forward to budget in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously the current government committed to improving and investing in the NHS. And I think, in answer to your question, this is has been a series of several years, if not longer, in terms of underinvestment in the NHS that has brought us to this position.
But I think with all these outreaching services and things, because I know many people are benefiting from those already, so I know that it works really well. But myself, as you've been speaking, when you said about the heart, putting the heart back in Heartlands, I was just thinking that, obviously we live in Solihull, we've got relatives around Birmingham. We've used Heartlands for many departments. I think even I've been in for 4 or 5 days myself in your department when I got my bout of pneumonia back in 2019 from all the plaster dust in my house, which wasn't a good move. But and the care was absolutely exceptional. I went through the pathway, obviously emergency department and through, and then through to the respiratory ward. So, but it's always been. My father had his stents put in when he had his heart attack. So it's always been close to us, and it's always served us very well.
So we serve not only East Birmingham, but we do serve Solihull as well.
Yeah.
So in fact, the mix of Heartlands inpatients is 1/3 of East Birmingham patients, 1/3 are Solihull, and the final third is made up of patients from all surrounding areas as well. So so we are, very much the emergency services for quite a wide different population, but also provide, as you've mentioned, some of the specialist services as well.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. So it's always be close to our heart as well.
See, it's all about the heart.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to keep the tagline going. So at the moment, so obviously you've been through so much. We touched upon this, but what makes you excited to come to work in the morning?
I think it's that being able to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's always been the thing, isn't it? So whether you're um, a nurse, a resident doctor, a healthcare assistant, porter, cleaner, somebody working in finance, working within NHS, it is about making a difference to other people's lives. And that's why these professions are vocations. They're vocations for a reason. So it is about making a difference, and as you take, and part of the reason for taking on these wider roles is that you can then make a difference at a much bigger level. We're now making decisions at population level.
Yeah.
So East Birmingham locality is 250,000. So you're making decisions about healthcare at that kind of level, and that in itself is a real motivation. And then when you actually see that you can improve things, and it makes a real difference to people's lives and their experiences and their families' experiences, that's the continuous drive.
And with I know we've joked about it before, because obviously I've been trying to get you to come and do this podcast for quite a while. But with your role now, you mentioned to me that there's a lot more involved in obviously the media and doing a lot more stuff on video. How have you found that transition?
I hate it.
You hate it even now.
So just
You've
it's
got
not
no
again.
choice,
It's not, well, I think there's opportunities which obviously are really beneficial because you can showcase some of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm not a natural, here. Hi, this is really type. Focusing on. Don't naturally like that focus, but understand that it's important for first of all, the reason actually I would do it is to celebrate all of the fantastic work that the teams do, and that is a really good reason to do it. Is actually we've spent the last 20 minutes talking about fantastic services and teams, and beneath that sit hard-working members of staff that deserve the credit. So for that reason, then I agreed to do your podcast, Scott.
Awesome, and I appreciate it. The team appreciates it too. So you mentioned obviously the pressures in the hospital and everything else. How does that how does it affect the staff on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so it's a really good question actually, because it is really challenging environment for our frontline staff, particularly to be working in. And we know that it's a fact that Heartlands is underbedded, and the pressures of having to maintain flow at the front door, making sure that the ambulances are offloaded and the patients are getting that emergency care that they need and they deserve, is our day-to-day challenge. We spend almost every day, all day, trying to create that space in the hospital for our patients, and that understandably is difficult, not only just for the patients who are waiting for treatment, but also then the staff. And in fact, just recently I invited in some of our local community leaders to discuss that very point, as a result of our staff survey telling us that our staff are experiencing increasing amount of violence and aggression, actually.
Oh man, really?
From the communities. And it was a really useful opportunity to meet with our community leaders to share some of that, but also to hear from them what the community's frustrations are, which may lead to some of these behaviours. And things like obviously waiting for long times in ED, the anxiety and the pressure of not knowing what's going to happen next. So we have adopted some of that feedback into our daily routine to try and make the visibility in the ED departments better along how long it's going to take to wait, and actually incorporating some of that feedback into our staff, trying as much as possible to give as much clinical information back to patients' relatives whilst they are waiting. So I think it's, these are challenging environments, and it's, we at all times try our very best to maintain a smooth transition of patients from one department to the next. But fundamentally, we're working within a constrained environment where we have not got the bed base that we require for the level of demand. And part of our plans, future plans for Heartlands, are currently working up plans for some extra clinical ward capacity to meet with this demand, but also working with external agencies to work up a plan to secure funding for a new ED department, to kind of really change the face of that patient experience. At the end of the day, this is all about patient experience, but also about staff experience. They're both equally important to me. And so these are big projects and require significant amount of funding. So the funding is yet to be secured, but we're definitely working in the background to try and improve and get the business cases ready for that level of planning.
No, it's fantastic. And like you say, because the emergency department, when you think of the hospital, that's the bit you think of, isn't it? Because unfortunately, that's where
most people access it.
Yeah, and that's our experiences of hospitals, isn't it, on the norm. So no, that'll be fantastic. And it's giving me a headache thinking what you guys are going to have to deal with. Because obviously, you've got to keep that running.
Yeah.
While delivering a new
absolutely.
one. So that it's just that's
so all of these things are are within the planning phase. That fundamentally it does come down to actually securing that very large amount of funding, which we will continue to try our very best to do.
To persevere and push.
Yeah.
So you've been doing, because you mentioned the 130-year anniversary, and you've been doing, I know that you've been doing quite a lot of kind of community outreach events and things. So how's that kind of all going?
Yeah, so it was a really good opportunity to celebrate. It's a huge landmark, 130 years.
Yeah, massive.
And the last big landmark was 125th, which was during COVID, so we didn't have the opportunity to celebrate for obvious reasons. So we have done an exhibition of Heartlands Through the Ages, which is now a longer main corridor, which really showcases all of the start of Heartlands, where it all started off with, and they've got a very strong, right from the very start of when Heartlands was came into being, was around infection. So measles, TB, scarlet fever, typhoid. So all through the world wars, we were the place where patients received that type of treatment. And interestingly, that thread is carried through. So we've got regionally the biggest infectious disease unit currently in Heartlands, which is kind of come from the origins, and then of the other main departments, respiratory, renal dialysis, etc. So we've traced all of that, and it's really nice for staff to be able to see that and read all of the history that sits behind it, and again kind of showcasing our rich history in terms of service provision, but also research that happened, and you mentioned some of that earlier in Heartlands. So it's been really useful and really nice for both patients and staff to be able to see that and be part of that celebration. We recently had Professor Carl Chin open that exhibition. He's a local historian with a national profile.
Wow.
So that was really useful as well, and various other celebrations on the day with performances from different staff groups, and also bake-off competitions. So lots of different things happening just to kind of give, and it's really important for staff to feel, and it goes back to that feeling that Heart of Heartlands is feeling part of history, and also part of the future as well.
Is that exhibition available for the public to kind of see?
So it's on the corridor, so you can
is
just
it?
walk
Oh,
down.
brilliant.
It's it's in poster formats and narrative boards, so you can look back and say, I remember the day.
Yeah, that's it. And you mentioned, is there pictures of it like when it first opened, like all the open fields?
So we've traced back. So there are some early. So it came into existence in 1835. Wow. So we've got, and then it was open fields, and so there's some really early pictures that you can see, and you can try and trace, which I find always really fascinating. Well, actually, I can you can recognise the steeple of the church, for example, in the background. So yeah, they're showcased on the walls of Heartlands as we stand.
No, that's brilliant. Have you done that online as well? Or the media team kind of got
so anything? We've got the footage, obviously, from the exhibition, etc. In our LinkedIn and Facebook. The Trust Facebook pages as well. So.
No, brilliant. I think it'd be quite, because I like stuff like that. I like history stuff, so I'd like to look at that. You're
welcome to walk the corridors of Heartlands and
definitely have a look.
Have a look, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that's fantastic. So you mentioned the big C word at like 2020. How was that? Because what role were you in then when COVID kind of hit?
So yeah, so I was the senior responsible clinician during COVID. It kind of started off with something that was happening in China, if you remember.
Yeah, that's it.
At that point, we were asked to start thinking about actually what would COVID pathways look like, what kind of treatments people would need, etc. Obviously, right at the beginning, there were no treatments. And so I was asked at the time to lead on COVID, and I thought, that's, I'm a respiratory physician, it's quite interesting. It would be about writing some pathways, and then very quickly Italy happened. So you remember the catastrophes that were coming on our screens from Italy, and so almost overnight that role changed into actually now standing down services and being responsible for delivering care across Heartlands. Almost overnight so that was probably the most challenging role I've ever done. And during that time, there were no treatments at the beginning.
Of course.
And, navigating the risk to staff, the risk to patients, and we actually, as a hospital, had more COVID admissions, the most COVID admissions certainly in the region, and possibly even wider. And again, that plays out in some of the discussions we had earlier about the local demographic. So we've got a high population in small spaces, so the transmission was going to always be greater. So in one household you've got 3 generations. You've got the very young, you've got women of childbearing age, and then you've got elderly relatives, and that is the surrounding area, which is pretty typical of a Heartlands population, which explains why we had such a surge in admissions. And I think, if all of my career, it was probably the most challenging, both personally and professionally, but the most humbling and the most, the standout period in time. I would never wish to replay that ever again. But and I'd forever remain indebted to our teams that stood up to the challenge at personal risk. And through the process, unfortunately, we did lose some of our own members of staff due to COVID. But it restored my faith in humanity, and I think that it's a really poignant lesson for us to not forget the awful time that obviously the staff and the population went through, but the toll that left. So after COVID, there was a huge amount of staff burnout due to, we're in the provision of caring, and when you're not able to provide treatments because there are no treatments available in the early days, that is really difficult. In fact, I did some shifts in ED on medical take at nights during that period, as well as some bedside, assisting bedside nurses in ITU. And those memories will never leave you. I mean, Heartlands is vibrant. You walk around, it's a full of life place, and it transitioned into, people wearing full PPE and walking down corridors and distancing, and it was such a different, unrecognizable place to what it normally is. And then not being able to, at one point before, as the stories from Italy were evolving, we were, literally thinking about where are we going to treat these patients, or what space have we got that, are we going to have to use the canteen? What machinery are we going to use? How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
That, that responsibility of doing our very best for every patient that crosses our threshold as much as we could within the confines of what we were able to. And at one point we had to monitor the amount of oxygen that we had in the hospital, because the usage of oxygen went up so rapidly for those patients in the early days. And then the ITU facilities, Heartlands has got some ITU capacity, and thankfully by that time we'd already been merged with QE, and we'd become UHB, and so those rapidly stepping up those pathways to safely transport patients from one ITU to the next to QE, where it has a bigger capacity. And so those rapid setting up of services and then standing them down again and then going into recovery phase, and then the next pandemic peak, and then the next peak, and then the next peak, and then having to kind of make up all of that lost time in terms of patients had been waiting for operations, etc., which is still ongoing till today. So the legacy of COVID lives on for a very long time, but still remains one of those memories that, if you experienced it from within healthcare, you'll never forget them.
And it's, the general public, we had I can't remember what day it was, but what was it, clap on a Wednesday for NHS, and it's like, because everyone felt so helpless, because you couldn't do anything, because you can't volunteer for the hospital or anything, so, because obviously it was infectious disease, wasn't it, so you couldn't, everyone was spacing out, everyone was doing this and that, and it's just, I remember the ambulance workers and the paramedics going around, and it was like, just because I remember seeing some in the so I can't remember, I think in town centre or something, and the looks on their faces, you could see it in their faces that they're absolutely burned out, they're knackered, could have been running around the whole time, because we provided vehicles for a private GP network in London, and they picked up contracts for frontline care, and they were running those cars, like even Artie, my brother-in-law, he was running some shifts there in full PPE gear, like looking like the Martian in Back to the Future, like full blown, and it was it's hard, very very hard. It was 24-hour shifts the cars were running, and they're just switching the doctors out and they're going out, and they're just trying to relieve the pressure on the emergency department to kind of go straight, or what they call it, triage. So it's going straight through, obviously picking out the patients, and it's horrendous. And people, we've all got our memories of it, but seeing that, what the healthcare workers, everyone had to go through, what you all had to go through, was hats off to you guys. And like you, I hope you never have to do it again. I hope that's just confined to history now.
I remain forever indebted to those teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
That worked day in, day out, personal sacrifice, social distancing from their own families, not being able to see their own children and their own loved ones, for the sake of the people.
Yeah. So no, it's been wonderful. But just to finish off, can't let you go, because we've touched upon this, because we've touched upon a lot, to be honest, because we've blasted through a lot of information, but with the kind of kids or students nowadays, would you say that because obviously there's a lot more money now to become a doctor, because obviously the tuition fees are there now, they're not subsidised as much as they used to back in the good old days, so the motivation to be a doctor, or the decision to be a doctor, people might be swayed. What would you say to them to say, to join medicine, to kind of join the team?
So, I mean, I think, it is the best profession.
Full stop.
I know, and that's not to, say that other professions are not worthwhile, but for me, it suited my personality and my values. And I think that's really important, because it is a way of living your professional life and upholding your values, and that there's not very many professions you can do that in, and make a significant difference to people's and families' lives. And again, there's not very many professions that you can do that in. And again, I think it's about keeping your options open. So not everything, fast-paced work and working in the front line doesn't suit everyone, but with the skill set that medicine teaches you and you acquire, we spoke some about people skills. There's such a plethora of different specialties you can go into, different niche, specialisms that you might want to go into. But actually, there's a lot of other skill sets that you can do as well that still help make a difference on a wide scale, but not necessarily that you're going to learn in a textbook. And I think it might not be related to anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry, but once you're actually in practicing the job, you will find a place that is your home.
There's so much, isn't
there?
Literally. I've got a lot of family members who are medics, and I don't think, obviously you've got your GPs, but apart from that, everyone else, they're all in different roles, all in different areas of medicine. So no, it is a massive diverse occupation. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people? Well, you've got their attention,
Thank you
or
for
our
listening.
viewers anyway. Yeah.
Thank you for listening. I think I passionately still believe in the NHS,
Yeah.
and there we try our very best to do the very best for our patients and our staff, and we will continue to do so. Personally, myself and my team are committed to improving Heartlands, improving the estates, because we're very recognise that we've got some really old estate. We are 130 years old. I'm not saying the buildings are all 130 years old, but there is a lot of poor estate. But the passion and the commitment to doing the best for our patients is still as strong as it was when the NHS was created.
No, fantastic. Thank you very much. And
My
sorry,
pleasure.
I just have to say, you are really good at media stuff. I've seen some of
Okay.
your videos, and this has been brilliant. So
Thank you.
I think you should do more of it. And I think,
Thanks,
talk to
Michael.
the
Thanks.
public. No problem. Thanks very much for coming in.
So thank you very much for having me. Thank you for watching my podcast. I do hope that you found it useful. I encourage you to subscribe to Morgan Reach TV, where you'll find more podcasts like this. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching episode 32 with Dr. Rifat Rashid. That was absolutely fantastic. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. I know we certainly did. Do tune in to our other episodes. We'll be having a lot more guests on in the future, so please do tune in. And thanks very much, and please do remember to like and subscribe to our channel.